Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome back to another FIFA 22 video where today we're going to be checking out, I believe, a brand new formation that we haven't covered at all this year, and it is the 4-1-4-1. Now, I did want to try out some new formations, just try some new things. It's kind of at that period in between team of the season, so you just want to try out a few new things. And I've been playing with the 4-1-4-1 recently, just wanted to try something brand new out, see if it was good, see if it was bad, and then report on it to you guys. Hopefully you guys will enjoy this video today. Now, the 4-1-4-1 is one of those formations that I never really think to use. It's one formation that never really comes up in games, and it's really something that I've only ever experienced with in draft. Sort of if you get some other really terrible formations, you just give it a go. And it is a generally quite a good formation. It's very, very solid, very tough to break down. The negatives to this formation is it is a little bit tricky to get a lot of chances. It's incredibly good for stopping chances and being quite solid defensively, but it isn't very good necessarily at getting many chances. So with that being said, the tactics that I found to be the best that I could make this formation. Now, defensive style, this is quite interesting. I decided to play it on balance. This is definitely a formation where a press could work. Now, I wouldn't ever recommend constant pressure. Press on possession loss could work in this formation because you have the two banks of four and you don't have a lot of space. Obviously, you have the DM as well between the back four and the midfield four. This is a formation where pressing would be quite effective because there wouldn't be a lot of space for your opponents to play around, over the top, or to the side of a press. So a press could work really well. I decided to stay on balance. Now, if you do want to be a bit more aggressive in this formation, I would recommend something like press on possession loss because it obviously is going to lead to you winning the ball a little bit higher up the pitch, which, if creating chances is tough, winning the ball a bit higher up the pitch might be a really effective way to create chances, sort of get short fields and then be able to work off that. In terms of the depth, I went for 65. Again, I wanted to play a little bit higher because this formation, the biggest reason why this formation is tough to create chances is because it doesn't have a cam and it just has one striker. It doesn't have wingers, doesn't have inside forwards. It's essentially just a striker by himself. So you do have a lot of your attacking quality needs to fall on your midfielders. So I did decide to play a little bit higher up with the depth just to create some more chances. This did help, obviously being a little bit higher up the pitch, but it also didn't lead to me conceding any more chances. The team was still very solid, tough to break down, and it was still very effective. In terms of the build-up play, I decided to play it on slow build-up. Now, you'd think that if this formation was tough to create chances, you would maybe go on something like fast build-up. I didn't like the fast build-up in this formation. I felt in this formation it didn't quite work. It's hard to put your finger on why. It just didn't quite work. It just didn't feel quite like it worked very well. But slow build-up worked really well. I think because playing from the back four, you always had the defensive midfielder to kind of then build the attacks through the midfield. I think when you're playing in this formation, you've got to really attack through the midfield because that's where the strength of the formation is. The left and right midfielders in this formation generally are just as more distractions and decoys more than anything because they don't really get involved offensively too much. It's kind of more so when you're moving up the pitch, you have an option to pass inside or outside. Obviously still gives you that unpredictability when you're attacking. Now, what did really help with offensive duties was the direct passing. Now, when it comes to this formation, your two central midfielders are paramount. You have to have two quite attacking centre mids because they will get the majority of your assists. They also get a lot of goals as well, but it is important, especially if you want to get the left and right mids involved. Having them on direct passing is really important because it's going to basically get that whole midfield up with your striker, and then you've got obviously 5 players attacking. So it was really important to have that in there. Offensive width, I went for 70 because I wanted the left and right midfielders. In formations, when you have left and right mids, it is tough to get them in the right position to score and create chances. So in this formation, I decided to just have them as decoys and just have them out wide. It was still very easy for me to get forwards and use those guys on the wing, but it was more just so I had options to pass the ball on the outside. The reason why I don't like narrow formations is because you have to constantly pass the ball on the inside, and it's very predictable to read and defend. So when you obviously have width, it's much more difficult to defend somebody. But these guys didn't necessarily get too many goals. But a lot like the 5-2-1-2 we play when we play on 100 width. Having obviously the team stretched out makes it more easy to attack, but it can make it a little bit difficult to defend. because sometimes the gaps open up a little bit in the midfield. In this one, it worked on 70. It was perfect. Definitely the right number to pick. Players in the box got 6 and corners on 1 and free kicks on 1. A lot of these things are kind of subjective to what you like personally. Now, when it comes to the instructions, of course, your striker has to be on stay central, has to be on getting behind. There's kind of no wiggle room for that. I wouldn't really recommend anything else anyway. I think for this formation, that is kind of a must. In terms of the 2 midfielders, we've got Vieira and Bellingham. Now, you do need 2 attacking midfielders, as I mentioned before, because these guys are going to do a lot of attacking and they're going to get a lot of assists. So they do have to have good shooting. They do have to have good passing. Ideally, they want to have good dribbling as well. Ideally, you want to have guys that have got at least 4-star weak foots as well, because they do need to be doing a lot of shooting and passing. We've got them on balanced attack. We've got them on get into the box for crosses. We do need those bodies getting in the box. Because we are going to have plenty of bodies back defensively. So we do need these guys getting forwards. Now, you could, if you wanted to, have these guys on get forward, and then that's really going to help offensively. But it is going to kind of like mess with the shape a little bit, because it means your 2 midfielders are always going to be out of position. So your opposition is just going to be straight into your defensive midfielder, and you've only got 1 guy, so he's going to get outnumbered in there. So I wouldn't recommend using that. In terms of the wingers, obviously we've got Pele and Cantona as the wingers. Both of those guys as well on get into the box for crosses and get in behind. Really, really important. You need those guys running the opposite way. And in terms of the chance creation, I decided to just leave this on balance width. I didn't want cutting behind because it doesn't really make any sense and it doesn't really help in this formation. But I didn't want them on stay wide. I didn't want them to, like the 5-2-1-2, when I want those wing backs to really stay wide. In this formation, it's not necessary. You don't need them to stay that wide, because you do need them to get involved in the play. That is very, very important. You don't want them to just kind of get stuck out there, because then you've just got 2 players that are not doing anything. So it's really important to have these guys on balanced width. Obviously, your defensive midfielder wants to be a proper out-and-out defensive midfielder. He wants to be on cut passing lanes, stay back while attacking, and cover centre. And the whole of the back 4 I had on stay back while attacking as well. As I said in videos before, when you have left and right midfielders in front of a back 4, you don't necessarily need these guys to get forward. Now, if you want to, you can have these guys on balanced and overlap, and then they're going to overlap the wingers, and then it's going to be mainly down to your fullbacks to get a lot of your assists. But I think in this formation, because we've decided to obviously have the wide players stay wide, you don't need the fullbacks to go forward. It's just not necessary, and it'd be much better to have these guys on stay back while attacking. But there are a few things that you can do, like I said, to obviously get this a little bit more offensive if that's something you are struggling. In terms of this formation, extremely good at holding chances. You know, it didn't really give up many chances. It was very, very solid, very tough to break down, but it is something that was a bit tricky to create chances with. So that is something to bear in mind. Would I say this is necessarily a great formation? Personally, I don't think this is a brilliant formation, but it is something that if you do want to try out the 4-1-4-1, if you are someone who's struggling defensively maybe, then this is definitely a formation you could give a try and then tweak around with it and see how it works for you. But that is it for today's video, guys. So if you did enjoy the content, do drop a thumbs up and subscribe as well if you are new to the channel. But that's all for today, guys. Have an awesome day. I'm out.